Welcome, Eat Sleep Dreamers, to the second of my English and Friends series. And today I'm joined by Halima. Welcome, Halima.
Hello, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's awesome to have you here. Do you want to just quickly explain who you are and what you do?
So I do quite a few things. Multi-passionate, I think. I love diving into different areas, but mainly I teach English, and I also teach business, how to start businesses for people that are like ready to give like their passion a try, kind of in that area.
That's really cool. And your channel is Blackboard English.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so as always, I like to start off these conversations with a quick fire 5 questions, starting with what's your favorite English word or phrase?
So I think I use a lot of I guess like the what was it, the bee's knees, like that's the
Uh-huh.
bees, like I use that a lot. Or another one that I like to use is break a leg. um
Okay.
I quite enjoy how other people use it sometimes as well, that are like, wait, what is that? Like sometimes I see when I use it, it's like it's not always taken in the best way, especially that one.
Yeah. If someone says, "Oh, break a leg," it sounds kind of strange, right? You're like, "What? What? Why? What? You want me to?" But then, I mean, it sort of comes from, I think, it comes from theatre, right? It's like when someone's going on to do a performance, you go, "Oh, break a leg,"
Yeah.
but then to say like "good luck,"
Yes, it says exactly. It obviously it doesn't mean like someone should go
don't
break their leg.
literally.
Yeah, so it's like basically good luck, do your best, hopefully whatever you're doing can be like successful.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're saying it to like your friend who's about to go play football, go break a leg, it's kind of like, like, don't literally break a leg, but good luck.
Yeah, so if someone's going for an interview, for example, I'd say like break a leg.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, next one. What's your favorite British English accent?
So, I do love all different types of accent, and I think my favorite has to be the Liverpool accent. So I think it's called Scouser
Hmm.
accent. That's my favorite, and I know you can you can mimic that.
Oh no, don't make me do it now. Oh no.
Say one sentence, Tom, just one sentence.
So I think there's a comedian called Jimmy Carr, and he has like a phrase that gets you into the accent, and I think his is like can I have a fried chicken and a can of coke or something like that. A can of coke. That's the only one I remember. Chicken and a can of coke. So yeah, that's all I've got.
No,
I've
awesome.
obviously
I love it.
I've enraged all the Liverpudlian viewers already. But no, it's a great accent. What's your favourite place in the UK?
I would say probably Lake District. Um,
Ooh.
I feel like I'm still a tourist when it comes to the UK, but
Hmm.
in the past 2 years, I've been quite like to quite a few places, and Lake District probably the most beautiful. I find it to
Yeah.
be like full of trees. There's a massive lake there, very quiet, and just like a very it's very different to London because that's where I live, and you live there as well, Tom,
Yeah.
and you know the difference how like there's a hustle and bustle, and there's like it's very cosmopolitan. So there's lots of good stuff about London, but it's very busy, very fast
Mm.
paced, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I couldn't agree more. The Lake District, I haven't been since I was like a kid, but it's so calm and tranquil and beautiful. Those lakes are, oh, they're amazing. Yeah. Okay, great shout. Okay, what's your favourite British food?
So I love a good roast. So
Mm.
I love a good roast. I love I'm confused about roast though. Like sometimes I'm like, what are like there's Sunday roast, and then there's another one I forgot what it was called, but it includes like Yorkshire puddings. So
Hmm.
anything with Yorkshire puddings, I'm just like, ah.
Yeah. Well, there's this strange rule that I've never really understood where it's like if you have roast beef, then you have Yorkshire pudding. But if you have roast chicken, you can't have Yorkshire pudding. Or
Oh,
and I'm like, why? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like Yorkshire pudding is delicious, I want it. Can I please have it with my chicken or with whatever?
Know that. I had no idea. Like, so there's a place that opened up in Camden
Mm.
that do Yorkshire pudding. I think you went there, yes?
Yeah, yeah, the Yorkshire burrito.
Your story, and I was so jealous. Yeah. The Yorkshire burrito, yeah. So they put all of the roast dinner stuff in a big, massive Yorkshire pudding,
Yeah,
Yeah.
um, like a giant, and then they'll wrap it up.
yeah. So good. Yeah, it's crazy. My last conversation for English and Friends was with Dan from Britspeak, and we spoke about this exact place in Camden. Like it keeps coming up. I think yeah, it's just that idea of like a Yorkshire pudding as a burrito. Just it's a bit of a strange one, but it works. It works so well. Okay. Okay, last one. What's one tip that you have for anyone coming to the UK?
Have money with you.
No, yes.
So, I mean, like in London, like as soon as I leave the house, I'm spending at least like £20. Like
Uh,
it's so expensive to live in London, especially within London. I think the more you get out of London, things are more are cheaper.
mhm.
But within London, I think food is expensive. Like, but you can get like really cheap food as well, like a meal deal from Tesco
Yeah.
is quite affordable. So, but if you want to go, I guess come to London, I would say save up a little bit, and find out like all the hole in the wall kind of places like Camden and
Mm.
um like cheaper like Lidl or Tesco's to fill up a lot of your meals,
Yeah.
because every time I leave to have like dinner or whatever, I spend at least 50, £60,
Yeah.
including travel and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's like like even like little things that you don't think about too much, like a coffee. Like a coffees are like £3.50. Like a friend of mine told me he paid £4 for a coffee the other day, and you're like, £4 for a coffee? That's a lot of money.
and also people like one more tip is when you're in London, expect everybody just to have like not to speak to you. As soon as you do talk to people, they are friendly.
Mm.
But I noticed it when I was in Russia. I was on the train station and everybody had just like a very like I guess like there was no emotions in their face, smiling,
Yeah.
sad. It was just like, and I was like, what was going on? Like, why is everybody like that? Then I came back to London. I was like, it's exactly the same in London
Yeah.
as well. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something that I've tried to think about a lot because people in the north of England will say like, "Oh, Southerners are, you know, they're not as friendly as us," and I think there is some truth to that. And in particular, Londoners, right? We have a reputation for being a bit rude or serious or just not as friendly. And I think that's probably down to just city life. I think city life is hard. It's fast. We're all kind of rushing places. And I think if you do stop and you have a chat with someone, you'll find that they are lovely. They're a really nice person. Just that maybe on the outside, it seems like they're a bit rude or whatever it is. And I think that's just a part of city
I
living.
think.
I agree, but I do still think that like I think Northerners are much more friendly, but there are certain
Mm.
Mm.
places, maybe it's the southern London, like Cornwall, where I found to be not as friendly. Like, is that like part of it as well? Like it's a northern thing. Like, is that like part of the whole thing?
I do think Northerners are very friendly. Like they're very like, and we're talking generally here. Like, my experience. I went to university in Leeds, and just everyone in the bakery or the supermarket, they're like, "All right, love, how you doing?" And you're like, "Huh, what?" Like, I'm not used to this kind of, sort of friendly. All right, love. Oh, you look nice, and you're like, "Oh, okay, all right." So I do think there is that, and also I was with a friend the other day, and he's from the north, and we were in Birmingham together, and he's constantly like saying hello to people and like making conversation, whereas I was a bit more reserved and a bit more kind of quiet. So I think yeah, maybe there's just a kind of a bit more outgoing in that sense. I don't know. Again, I'm talking generally here, but
Yeah,
um,
absolutely. So we're going to get people now from the South saying this is not true information.
let's get on to some questions that we got from my audience. And guys, if you want to leave questions for next week's episode, then please put them in the comments below. Questions about language, culture, about us, whatever you want, leave them in the comments below. Okay, so we've got lots of questions. I've got a couple of fun ones here. I'm going to say the names so terribly, so I apologize in advance. Siufra Siufo asks, British people don't seem to enjoy foreign music much. Why is that? Do you think that's true, that we don't enjoy foreign music that much?
I guess like I can't talk for everyone in the UK because my experience comes from London, but in terms of London, it's pretty eclectic in terms of the taste.
Mm.
In, like I'm very surprised to find people listening to Arabic and all sorts of different types of music. So I think London for sure, like very diverse. What is your taste in music? Is it eclectic? Like
Yeah, it's pretty eclectic. I like a little bit of everything, and I think you're right. I think about like reggaeton, which I think comes from South America. I think like it's really big here, right? That's a huge thing. I think about Bhangra, which I think comes from kind of North India and that kind of area, like the Punjab, like really big as well. Like there was a Bhangra club that I went to in Birmingham. So I think from what I can tell, I think yeah, foreign music is quite popular here. Another question that we've got in from Siofo is only once in a blue moon have I met native English speakers who can speak another language. So this is interesting. Why do you think that Brits in general can't speak any other languages? Do you think that's true? Is that your experience? And why do you think that is?
that's a really good question. Who said that question?
Siafra Siofo, I think.
Okay, so yeah, so um I guess it is to do with the schools we go to in the first place. So my school was a language school. So we were exposed to many different languages. So I did French and German and I did Japanese when I was going to like in school. So like I think the education is there. I'm pretty sure, Tom, like you probably were told like you needed to do French or German or another language, right, in school?
Yeah, French. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so everyone has that. Like it's not like, oh, okay, nobody can like it's only English. So we do get exposed to languages. But as adults, I think people just think, okay, I can survive with English. I can like everybody else in the world is learning English to communicate with people. Yeah, so like I think it's not as urgent since internationally English has become like everyone must learn around you, if that makes sense. So it's not as urgent to learn a second language for people. That's what I think. It's just in terms of urgency. Like for example, when I went to the US, I think having a second language was pretty common in some areas, like especially if they lived with people that are like near, like for example in California, like Spanish is a very well known like language amongst lots of people. But I think it's not, oh, like I don't want to learn a different language. It's more about convenience for a lot of people, survival. Do they like there's no jobs really like majority of jobs will not never say you need to know a second language unless it's very specific to a specific type of role like a translator. But like yeah, like it's not like when you're in a different country where they're like you need to know English and your language, and so you have to grow up they're like, okay, I need to communicate in two different languages. So for me, I grew up multilingual. So I spoke Swahili. That was my first language. So English isn't my first language. Although lots of you are like, oh, you no, English is my third language actually. So it's Swahili, then Arabic. I also learned Somali. I'm still looking for this word, which means a language where you fully understand what the person's saying, but you can't respond.
Oh yeah, there should be a word for that,
The
right?
word, isn't it? Yeah.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I understand Somali because I was born there and I was surrounded by the language,
Mm.
but I don't know how to speak it. So we spoke Swahili at home, and Arabic was my other language. Then when I came to the UK, I learned English. So I think also it's like, for example, now I'm seeing my siblings, their kids don't really know how to speak Swahili. They're only speaking English.
Hmm.
So, like, I think a big part of language learning is the parent making it very important when they're young to focus on like either their native language or another language added to their curriculum at home.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's not only for, I think that like for people that are born here or only have English as a language, but people that originally have multiple languages are also starting to let go of that because it's just easier to communicate in English with
Yeah.
everyone.
So how has that informed your English teaching? The fact that you've kind of learned, multiple languages and
Yeah.
learned English. Like, how has that, yeah, informed the way you teach?
So I think it definitely gives you empathy in terms of like how language like it's not, it doesn't take one day to learn languages, and repetition is a massive part that people think that that no, I don't need to repeat and use this word over and over again. So repetition and like, you know, me having like in my classes there's a lot of repetition. So for example, um textbooks, course books, I really get annoyed because they're like, here's one topic and that topic will be covered in one lesson and then never looked at again until
Yeah.
you're at a different level. And I
Hmm.
find that very weird. So like, for example, I like to really go like deep into language. So for example, let's say there's a text between two people speaking, instead of just reading it, doing activities and going, we do like multiple activities on that specific language, because within that language there's like a rainbow of different ways to express things and manipulate and change the sentence structures to make your own sentences and so on. So like staying in one area or topic for longer for me is because I understand that, okay, why am I teaching these languages? It's not just for fun. They're going to need to use these phrases. So, you know what I mean? Sticking
Yeah.
to that topic and area is so important.
100%. And I think as a teacher, I absolutely love that. And I think as a teacher, the skill of a good teacher is to kind of tease out the language of a student, but just to stay in the moment with them, and just to, yeah, just to get them to tweak. Okay, you said it like that. Could we say it differently? Make it a question. Make it, change the intonation. Like, just manipulate a little bit of language in lots of different ways so that, yeah, you don't need to rush off to the next unit of a course book. Just stick with it, play about with that. Yeah, how can you use that phrase in the negative? How can you make it, just, yeah, move around with it. Definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like focusing on quality of the language rather than
mm,
having a billion words that you never use.
100%.
You're like, okay, like how do I use that in a sentence? Um,
100%.
and I call it language manipulation. Like I think being able to take that away and say, I can use that now is far more important than saying, we've covered chapter one in this textbook, right?
Yes.
100%. Yeah, I like to talk about like bite-sized chunks, like studying in bite-sized chunks, like taking, let's say it's like an interview or a TV series, and just taking like 15 seconds or 30 seconds, if that, and just working with that bit of language and just squeezing out all the vocabulary, the pronunciation, all that stuff that's in there, and working with it, and like you say, kind of manipulating it in different ways so you become comfortable using it rather than like a. And I think, okay, so going back to what we were saying about why British people don't speak other languages, I think a lot of it is in the tuition that we got at school, which I think was just not very good. Like, it was very rote learning. I remember lists of verbs in French, but I don't remember how to use them. I don't remember any of them, but I would just have to list them, and I think we never, as you say, like, manipulate the language for our own purposes. So I think that poor instruction is a part of why we're so bad at speaking languages.
So you mentioned immersing yourself, right? So basically how I like you're a burrito of language, like you just wrap yourself around the language, right? So I like to talk about this for people that are like not in the language that, like, let's say they're not in a British speaking country, or they don't get like a lot of exposure. How would you say, like, to replicate what you went through when you were in Spain and Argentina,
Yeah.
in their own like living room or bedroom and so on?
Yeah, well, that's a really great point, and it actually links to a question that we've got. So let me read the question, and we can kind of talk about it. So Natasha, okay, Sarah Spiva, again, I'm sorry for getting that wrong. Hello, your videos are good, are very good. I learned English as a teenager, but I'd like to change my accent. I think she has an American English accent. Any tips for changing an American accent to a beautiful English accent without going to live in Britain? Thanks in advance, etc. So there's a few things we could talk about there, but the bit I wanted to link there was, yeah, without going to Britain, right? So you're in your home country and you want to learn and you want to immerse yourself in the language. So, I mean, we're so lucky now, aren't we? There are so many different ways we can do it. I think I was chatting to someone recently, and it was about, starting with your phone as the first place, like changing all the settings so it's in English, right? That's just a really basic, simple thing, right? If that's what you want to do. And then I think consuming, there's so much like content that we can consume these days, right? So linking it to what Natasha was asking there, I mean, I think the accent thing is to be debated. I think you should have the accent that you want. Don't feel you should have any one accent or another accent. Have the accent that you want. Embrace the accent that you have. I think that's probably the thing I'd say most. If you do want to have a more British English accent, then I guess that's your choice. There are hundreds of different British accents, so that's in itself something to think about. But I always think about like picking maybe like someone that you really admire, the accent that you really admire, and maybe modeling your accent on theirs. So, for example, when I was in Argentina, I really love the Buenos Aires accent. It's different. It's got this Italian inflection to it that is different from maybe a Spanish accent. So for me, listening to, I love football as well. So listening to a football player in an interview, and they're from Buenos Aires, and I can just pick up the intonation they use and just start absorbing that language. I think that's where I would go. So, for example, I had one student who wanted to speak with sort of modern received pronunciation, and I suggested starting with someone like Gemma Chan, who has, I think she speaks very clearly. I think she speaks really nicely. And I just said, just use her as a model. If that's the kind of accent you want, then use her as a model. Study her intonation, study her connected speech, just kind of work from there. And and you can take it in any direction you want, I guess, from there. How about you? What tips do you give for immersing?
So like for example, Arabic, I'm not like, I don't get an opportunity in this country to speak Arabic, so I start to become rusty, right, in the language. So it's like, oh no, like I'm forgetting words. I need to like actually practice it. So I started to, first of all, like the programs on Netflix that I watch, I started to choose like programs that will have like Arabic sub, like what is it called when it's like dubbing? Yeah, so Arabic. So I found that to be really useful. So I'll have like the subtitles in English, person will be talking, and usually like programs, let's say, that you've watched already that you really really like, changing the like the dubbing, I guess, the language the person's speaking, and watching it entirely with the language you're trying to learn is really really good. The other thing I started to do, this is more like for English for me. So like I always feel guilty whenever I'm like watching Netflix. So I'm like, okay, I really would love it if it was almost like a book that I was reading. So
Hmm.
I started to put on I guess it's like the voiceover, which is a descriptive one. And
Uh-huh.
so it is for people that like are visually impaired, but I choose to do it because they use lots of descriptive language,
They do.
right? Yeah, so they'll say, "Oh, the boy walked across with like hastily across and jumped on his grandmother," and I'm like, "Oh, I love this new like all these like vocabulary that like I'm getting exposed to, but I'm
Yeah.
also enjoying the Netflix show."
Yeah, it's amazing for adverbs. I've noticed that. It's really good for like, yeah, he walked hastily. Like, yeah, he moved stealthily across the and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's nice." Agreed.
Yeah. It really, really does like help like with new vocabulary for people that are listening and they're like, oh, I would love to learn like English. Like, how can I immerse myself more? So that's one of the ways you can do it. I also do it when I'm not actually looking at the screen and I'm like doing different activities. I listen and I'm like, I know what's happening because of the descriptive
Yeah.
over on Netflix. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that. I love the the audio aspect here, and I think this links to another question that we've got in from Savintras, which is what podcasts do you recommend? Which ones can help us get familiar with conventional language, slang, pace of speed of language, and accents? And I think for me, I don't know about you, but I love podcasts and I love consuming them like on dog walks or when I'm running. And I think, I mean, obviously, I'm using English, and but I'm consuming. Let's say it's about sport or it's about business or wellness, whatever the topic might be. That's up to me, right? I'm kind of learning English. Or sorry, I'm listening through the topic that I love. But I always talk about learning English through the topics that you love. So yes, I think podcasts are amazing for immersing yourself in language, and you don't need to pay attention to every word. You don't need to understand every word. You just need to let the language sort of wash over you. I think that's really great, and over time you'll pick up quite a lot. I think. So do you listen to podcasts? Are you at all into them?
yeah, I do. I love podcasts. Like you said, like I use it as a way to like do multiple activities at the same time. Like
Mm.
so while I'm walking to make sure that like my walks are not so boring, I will do that. Like I will listen to different types of podcasts. But I wanna like point out the little thing that you said, which is like I love the fact that you said find topics that you love because you can actually listen to more when you like so let's say you like crime or you like comedy, like type in the actual topic and you'll get lots of different podcasts in those topics.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important to actually love the topics that you want to like listen to for like 40 minutes. So on the train, on the bus, and it can really make a massive difference. And again, like be that in that immersive, like always listening to English as a way to be like, okay, like I now I'm it's almost like it becomes easier because like you're exposed and you don't take time to be like, oh no, I have to now like when some students when they come to class, they haven't looked at a single word in English for like weeks before
Yeah.
they come to the class and they're a little bit rusty. So
Yeah.
like it allows you to be learn easily. Like it's almost like you're warming yourself up.
Yeah.
Sort of like when you're about to exercise and you're warming up before like something that you're about to do that's active.
We'll leave a list of podcast recommendations in the description below. Um, a couple that I really love. I mean, I love football, so the Guardian Football Weekly is a go-to for me. Politics-wise, there's one called The Rest is Politics. If you want to know about British politics, but then also global politics, two guys kind of discussing things. I think that's really great. There are so many others. I'll leave them in the description. Halima, do you have any?
So one of my favorite podcasts is the Life Coach School. This is all about like mindset. So I listen to a lot of mindset coaching and all of that because I think it's very important to like continuously improve your mindset. The other thing is Where Should We Begin by Esther Perel.
Oh, amazing! Yeah,
Yeah, I love her, and I love like
Yes.
how she sounds too.
Yeah, she's
Um,
amazing.
so and then the one that I was talking to you guys about and giving you so many clues, is the what's it called? This the Diary of the CEO.
Uh-huh.
Have you heard of this one?
I have, yeah.
Very, very good. And obviously, like my own podcast, listen to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's the name of the podcast?
So it's the Fearless English podcast. So
Okay.
my podcast.
The link will be below.
Awesome. So yeah, like I am with that. I think like you're on there as well, Tom.
I am.
I am.
Yeah, we have a really good conversation on there. It was so long that I had to divide it into two and make it two episodes.
Yeah, I'm just rabbiting on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Perfect. We'll put all those links in the description below so you guys can check them out. Um, I think that pretty much wraps up everything, Halima. So all is left for just for us to do is you to tell everyone where they can find you and follow you.
So like for me, it's just Blackboard English. So wherever you look for Blackboard English, you'll find all my information on there on Instagram and YouTube and so on. I was gonna say all the Rebel School as well. So that's the place that I work as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, you guys go check Halima out. Check out her work; it's fantastic. Halima, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Tom, thank you so much.
No worries. Yeah, and guys, leave your questions for next week's episode in the description below.